do.
Yeah. That I do, my brother. My brother. Come on in, roundup homies. Come on in. What is this?
Release the hounds, my friend.
You have no clue, man. I'm so thankful. I think the more that we're thankful, the more that we receive and the more that we can get over whatever challenges we're going through, Mike, you know?
Oh, dude, I can't. So I'm a big follower of Joe Dispenza's work. He's really big on meditation and mindset.
Who's that? Who's
Joe
he?
Dispenza he's a mindset, just meditation guy. He's just really good on just getting our mind focused on what we want. He always says gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership.
Oh, yeah. He's right about that.
And man, it's so true. And the more grateful we get, the better things start rolling, man. So true.
It's so crazy. Yeah, you're right. When you're more grateful, it doesn't leave any room for stress. It doesn't leave any room for doubt. It's like,
No.
you know what? I'm just thankful for being
For
able
what
to
I've got.
Yeah.
What up? How you guys do? Yeah, it's one of those things where when you're focused on what you have and your health and your family and which you're not focused on jealousy or what the neighbors got or envy. You're just playing your game, man.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
It's
yeah,
so
good
true.
to see you. Mike Fritz. We're here again. Roundup homies, come on in. I haven't seen you guys live. You know, I'm trying to be daddy, daycare, husband, entrepreneur. Had a closing, trying to do construction. Had a $20,000 termite job I had to do today. I'm thankful. Once again, I'm grateful that I can even be here to do this with you. So come on in, Roundup. I'm Chris Haskins. I'm your co-pilot tonight. I'm your co-pilot. My mission and ministry is to raise your financial literacy through real estate investing and entrepreneurship. Doing that, I want to bring you the best and brightest information that is going to put you on a beam of light to get you further in your real estate investing career and entrepreneur career. So in doing that, we got Mike Fritz tonight. He's going to talk about seller financing. What up, homie?
Hey, man. How you doing? It's so good to get back to hanging with you again.
Yeah, it's hot out here. Where you at? Arizona? Where are you?
Yeah, man. So I'm in Phoenix, and it's hotter than heck this time of year. This last weekend, we got a rainstorm in, and it dropped to 75 for 3 days. It was like it's like God turned the air conditioner on outside for 3 days, man. It was awesome.
That's sweet. But you don't have any humidity out there, though.
No, that's the thing, man. No humidity. I play golf, as much as I can. I'm playing golf tomorrow morning because even it's 90 degrees, it feels like 75 where in the east, and that humidity.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's 95 here. It feels like obviously 110,
Yeah. And how's it where you guys are, man?
Yeah, it's burning up hot. I went to Busch Gardens today. If you see, I took my phone on the roller coaster, dude. I got the whole roller coaster.
That, dude. I'm like, what is he doing? He's gonna kill himself, man. Oh, that's so funny. Were you with the kids, or were you just having fun by yourself, or what were you doing, man?
I took my youngest daughter. My oldest daughter is in the conference, but I took my youngest daughter. I'm like, these moments, they're just priceless.
Oh, they are, dude. She'll be talking about the day she got her dad on the roller coaster probably for years, man.
We're going down the thing. The thing is like 100-something feet tall. We're going down screaming. I'm holding the camera. It's really cool.
That's awesome, man. Oh, I got to watch it. I don't think I saw that, man. I got to get over there. And I saw you were somewhere, and then I didn't see that video, but I got to go see it.
I'll put it on Facebook, too.
That's awesome.
Right. Sorry about that, Roundup. Just a little bit of a small talk to get you guys in the chat box. Mike, seller financing. Where did all this craziness come from? I forget before we do that. Roundup. If you're interested in supporting the channel and you are happy that the velocity of trainings that we do and my work in bringing you just different things that are going to help you with your finances, subscribe to the channel, no doubt, but join the channel. If you join our channel, it's something just a little extra for the busy entrepreneur and professional that we will answer your questions first. Okay. So Mike has been doing this multimillionaire real estate investor. He's going to be answering questions after he goes through what selling financing is and all of that good stuff. But if you join the channel, then you get your questions answered first. All right. It's going to cost you nothing but a large Starbucks coffee a month. Mike,
what's up, my friend? It's so good to be here with you guys tonight. Seller financing, man. I'll tell you, when I got turned on to this idea of seller financing, my eyes were open. I fell into it by accident because I had no clue what it is. When I used to, as we were all learning all the real estate, real estate's kind of like a toolbox. And I learned this from guys like Chris and others. You open that toolbox and, not every project needs a hammer, right? And so every deal needs a little bit different strategy. And seller financing are one of those tools in your toolbox, right? That you open up. Every deal is different. Chris does some fix and flips and subject twos, and he does all kind of lease options. He does so many different strategies. If he had one strategy and applied it to every situation, a lot of his deals wouldn't go through, right? I mean, isn't that right, Chris? I mean,
yeah, my mentor used to say, Chris, you are like an electrician when you show up to the construction site. They have this tool belt, and they have screwdrivers that are this long, this long, this long, this long, some that are curved.
Yeah.
You have to have every type of tool to be able to do the transaction. So
absolutely. And that's a great way to put that, because the idea is seller financing is one of those tools. And I'll tell you, I pull this tool out at every deal. Sometimes I put it back away, and sometimes it's the thing that gets the deal done. And so I want you to picture seller financing as something that could catapult you into real estate with not a lot of experience and not a lot of cash. And that's the power of this system. Because I don't know about you, Chris, I talk to people probably every day. They're like, Mike, I'd love to get into real estate, but I'm looking at my bank account and I don't see any money in there. How in the world can I buy real estate? And Chris and I have been shouting this from the rooftops for years, is you don't have to use your own capital to buy real estate. I mean, I hope you all know that by now. But seller financing is another way you don't have to do that.
I wish I had 25 cents for every time. I think I told you that. If I had 25 cents for every time I heard somebody say, I'm just going to wait, I know I would do it, but I just don't have the money.
In fact, here's the way, keeping with our toolbox analogy, the worst place to look when you're about to buy real estate is your bank account. That's the worst place to look. You want to look in your toolbox. Don't look at your bank account, because that'll discourage you. And
I like that.
As a multifamily guy, a lot of you guys have heard of me as a multifamily guy. I don't use one penny of my own money for any of my deals.
Wow.
And so I look in my toolbox. I don't look at my bank account. If I looked at my bank account, we just closed a $4.5 million deal. I couldn't close a $4.5 million deal out of my bank account. You kidding me? No, I close it with OPM, other people's money. Well, seller financing is another way to do a deal. Now, if you've never heard this term, let me give you a couple phrases. You may have heard land contract, seller financing. Some of our Canadian friends call it VTB, or vendor take back, or vendor financing, or they call it a lot of things. But all seller financing means is the seller finances the deal. So instead of you going to a bank, you pay payments to the seller rather than to a bank for the mortgage. That's all it means. It's a really basic concept, but the power is it's astronomical. Not only am I going to walk you through what seller financing is, I'm actually going to bring you a deal I did just 12 months ago, inside the last 12 months during the pandemic. It was fully seller financed. And I'm going to walk you through that deal, how that worked, so you guys can see that.
Seller financing. Are you going to go over the wide wins and all that stuff too, Mike?
Oh, man. Yeah, exactly. Because here's the deal. Good evening, Corey. How you doing, man? Good to have you all here. And again, Chris, I'm going to be hitting questions at the end, so keep your questions rolling. We'll roll through them. So don't leave, and keep those questions rolling. Because seller financing, what it does is it places you in a position where, I always say in business, one of the best things you can do in business is get around people that remove all your excuses, because that's the only place there's hope. And seller financing removes yet another excuse of why we can't get started today. Because there's people out there that would do seller financing deals if they knew you were kicking around and maybe knew of a deal, maybe knew you could make that deal happen. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through a little bit here.
Ready for me?
Yeah, go ahead, brother. Bring that up, and I'll talk a little bit about why, what it is, and the benefits of it. Because seller financing is a powerful tool. It's a powerful tool. And every single, the thing I love about it, it's a great equalizer. it levels the playing field of real estate. This isn't only intelligent or only the connected people. No, it's the person in front of the seller that really cares about them that can get this deal done. If you can be that person, welcome. You can do this deal. And this is what I love about it. It's not for any socioeconomic class. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It just matters if you're willing to put in the work and do the principles, then it's available to you. And it's a really, really powerful strategy. And it's one of those strategies, I got to tell you, my first seller financing deal was 2014. My first seller financing deal. And I'm going to give you a different deal tonight. But my very first deal with seller financing was 2014. I didn't even know what it was. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't have to go to a bank. I just pay you. Like, he's like, yeah, we can do seller finance. He just rolled off his tongue like he'd heard of it a million times. I had no clue what he was talking about. And as I got the deal done, I'm like, I wonder if there's like 25 more of you, because I can grow my portfolio a heck of a lot faster if I ain't got to go to the bank begging for money every day, right?
Yeah, I mean, looking around like, what? I'm it's like, this is real.
Is it? Yeah, I know. My first thought was, and again, I'll be perfectly transparent. I hope you're probably, if you're listening to Chris, you're no doubt further ahead than I was when I started. But when he offered that, I thought, like, is this like legal? Like, can we do this? Like, I didn't even think it was a legal option. I'm like, wait, don't we have to like go to the bank, let them know we're buying a property? And like, I didn't even know it was illegal. Like, it felt like, hey, let's just do this behind the barn to me. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, we can just, you and me, just negotiate something? He's like, absolutely. And here's how it works. And he actually taught me a lot about it because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. In fact, I probably could have gotten a better deal on that had I known what I was doing, by the way.
Yeah, probably.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But here, I'm going to walk you through just a couple of the reasons why I love SF seller financing deals. Number one, it gives you little, you can have little to no money in the deal and get into real estate. And then it starts removing those excuses, right? So if you don't need to come up with capital, you just have to go out and find the deals. Anybody can do that that's willing to put in the effort. And that's the power of seller financing. Number one, it leverages speed. You can do it quickly. You don't have to wait till your credit score hits 700. You don't have to wait till you've raised, $2 million or $1 million or 500,000. You don't have to be like, you don't have to wait till you're, a lot of people, you watch Chris and he's doing deals and he's just crushing it. You don't have to say, well, man, if I was at Chris's level, no, you can do this today. And that's the power of this system, is it doesn't matter your experience. It just responds to if you know how to get it done, how to find all these owners, how to negotiate, etc. And no banks are needed. Man, it's so powerful. So if you're in the single family world, you've probably heard this, or if you're going to start doing deals, you need to hear this now. The bank is going to sooner or later see you as what we call a liability. So the bank will give you a loan on a single family home and you'll rent that out. And you'll be making, whatever your profit is a month on that single family home. You're like, wow, I'm gonna go do this again. You go do it again. And then you got 2 homes, and then you go do it again. And you got 3. Sooner or later, the bank starts saying, I don't know that I want to loan more money to this person. They're getting more and more and more. Man, they've got like 12 homes. Who's managing these? How are they keeping track of everything? So they start to see you as not an asset, but a liability.
Yep.
But I mean, am I right, Chris? You seeing that too?
I just think that a lot of us, well, for me, I was always like, that ain't gonna be me. Bank's gonna always love me. I mean, I'm Chris Aston. Yeah, right. I mean, don't they love me? They're walking there, they're like, I don't know, buddy. Need to reconsider this, So
that's such fun. That's so funny, but it's so true. I remember back, like when I was 20 years old, I asked the banker, how many loans can you actually get? He told me 25. And what I realized later on, he lied to me. At about 8, the bank is like, no, I ain't giving you any more money. And even 8, most banks are like 6, 5 to 6. Yeah. And then they start, at least single banks. And then they're like, nah, you're kind of a liability. Your loan is getting, they call it loan exposure. Loan exposure is getting too much. Well, man, you do seller financing. Bank never even knows you got a deal, man.
Nope.
But the income shows up on your taxes. Boom. That's what you want, right?
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, they don't even consider it on you. I mean, they don't even count it as debt.
They don't count it as debt, but you get to claim it as income. Now that's powerful.
That's crazy. When they tell me that, I'm like, what do you mean? I mean, just because it's not on my credit?
I know, right? It's like, I mean, now that being said, on the flip side, people are always trying, if you're trying to build your credit, the cool thing about seller financing is more money is coming into your bank. More things are being able to get paid. It's going to support building your credit.
That's crazy.
But the bank isn't going to see it as debt. Now that's cool to me. I think that's awesome.
Ridiculous.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And so the other thing, it exceeds that bank limit. So it doesn't matter how many of these deals you do. You can do literally 5 if you're comfortable with that, or 5,000. It doesn't matter how much you do. You've got a guy like Dave Ramsey who says, you never should have any debt. Then you have a guy like Robert Kiyosaki who has $700 million in debt. Dave Ramsey, a $30 to $40 million net worth. Robert Kiyosaki, a $450 million net worth. Do the math on if debt is a powerful tool or not. In fact, in 2020, 2021, and probably 2022, debt is going to be the best investment you can make because you're going to be able to get money. You can get money cheaper and leverage that debt. Powerful tool. So you can exceed that bank limit. You know what I mean, Chris? I mean, you've seen this as well with what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, but they just don't. It doesn't count against your credit. The bank don't even see it. It's almost invisible. So
it's phenomenal. And then the other thing I love about the power of this is financing terms are negotiable. Financing terms are negotiable. So like, you go to the bank and they say, okay, this loan's going to be 4.5%. Pretty tough to say, I'll give you 4.2. Like they don't play that game. They don't play that game. But
that would be a good. That'd be an interesting conversation.
Yeah. That
would be.
If you went to a bank and said, "Hey, you know what? You asked for 4%. What do you say? I give you 3.5." It's not a garage sale at a bank. I guarantee you. It's not.
You're funny with that one, yo. Give Mike a life with it. That would be a good. I would love to hear that kind of. What I'm like. What do you mean, dude? The interest rates. What are you talking about?
What is this person asking me right now?
You smoking? You
smoking something. That's exactly right. And so, but you can negotiate the terms when you're dealing directly with the seller. They might say, I want, 6%. You say, 6%, man, the numbers get really tight. Could I give you 5 or could I give you 5.25? You can negotiate the interest rates and the down payments. All that's negotiable. With banks, they're like, this program, it's 20% down. This interest rate done. You're not negotiating that. It's not a negotiation. But with seller financing, it is. And that's powerful because you negotiate 1% off in interest. That's thousands and thousands of dollars over the life of that project. It's straight to your pocket, right? And so, and the thing I love about it, I'm a guy that I love speed. Speed wins. And I want to tell you, those of you that will take action immediately are going to be the ones that are most successful and are going to be the ones that, are on Chris's channel someday saying, man, I listened to Chris. I just went away and did it. And look what happened. Mm-hmm. You're going to be the person sitting in this seat saying, I listened to Chris's stuff. Boom. I'm crushing it now. If you just go out and take action. So I have a statement that says speed wins. The faster, because again, if a seller's willing to sell seller financing, well, then it's just a race to the person who gets to them first and cares about them enough, right? So if you get there first, it's a race to these sellers. If you're willing to run, you're going to find some. Especially the reason we're teaching this right now is I believe this is one of the most important things you could learn with the current temperature of the real estate market, with what's going on. When these eviction moratoriums lift in 4 days and the foreclosure moratoriums lift in 4 days, people are going to be thinking about stuff like this. Seller financing is going to be one of the most important and powerful things you can learn because in the future, it's going to be, remember we talked about that toolbox. It's going to be a tool you can pull out on every deal and at least ask the seller, hey, would you be willing to do seller financing? I do that on every deal. I don't care if it's $4.5 million or $4,500. I ask them if they do this type of structure.
Sweet.
Yeah. And so go for it, Chris.
Let me reintroduce you real quick, people. We got 55 people on here. Round up. If you're just joining us, we got Mike Fritz here talking about seller financing secrets. He's going to be going over some bullet points, one of the deals that he did. And then we're going to obviously get some goodies for you. He's got a workshop, a live event coming up, and only the people that are on here will get the discount code. We got some good stuff for you coming up after he explains all that stuff. Mike Fritz, hit it.
Thank you again. And thank you all so much for tuning in tonight on seller financing. I'm telling you, you could be doing anything tonight. You could be watching The Bachelor and reruns of Friends in the office, but you're here. And I want to just take a minute and just lift you up for that. You know what I mean? mean,
That's true.
I've never watched Netflix and went away and did a real estate deal. I'm just here to tell you. And so now maybe you watch that show like Tony Robbins thing or Brene Brown's specials. Okay, those are good on Netflix, but I never watched
crazy.
Netflix. And so I'm just commending you for putting time into your success. I actually asked a buddy of mine who owns a bunch of physical therapy, 12 PT practices up in Denver, very successful, worth millions of dollars, very successful real estate investor. And I asked him one time, I said, do you watch TV? And he said, dude, I don't watch any TV. I watch at least 1 to 2 hours of YouTube every day to inspire my mind. Mm-hmm. And I just want to commend you for doing that. That's what you're doing right now. And so give your all a big round of applause in the chat, because it's going to change your life. I mean, it's just, right. you can't stay the same listening to this stuff. It's just, you just don't have that luxury.
You know, it's weird. I just think sometimes I'm in the bathroom in my house and I'm like, you know what? I just cannot believe I get to do this. I don't even know how many people, Mike, what is I just think about the few amount of people that even understand this creative financing. I wouldn't even had the floor under me unless it was for creative financing, you know? It just blows me sometimes.
Dude, I would say, even in like my mastermind groups or the people I speak to or when I'm at events, most people have no idea what this even is. They may have heard of it, but they feel like it's like this phantom idea that, that might happen out there, but I don't even know what that is. Yeah. And then how do then the fear starts to set in. Oh, who protects the property? Who gets the title? Can they just take all my money and walk and run? I'm here to tell you that just doesn't happen. It just does. When people sell you the property, they're more at risk than you are. I'm just here to tell you, by the way, as long as you have proper documentation. And
Mike, I was just like, man, I had no choice. It wasn't like I had a lender that, it was like either this or nothing for me. So I don't know about what my round of homies is like that. I didn't have any other options.
No, and that's a good point, Chris, because I think sometimes we I don't know what the word is, but we look and say, okay, well, maybe seller financing, but you may have no capital and say, I want to do real estate, guys. It all sounds good, but I ain't got money to do it.
Basically.
And this is an option. And this is why we're doing this. And so, and the other thing I love, I say speed wins. You can start today. You don't have to wait. I am not a patient person by nature. Like, I do not like, if something needs to be done, I want to do it 7 minutes ago. And so I'm not a patient person by nature. I hope you're not either, because sometimes patience can be what kills our persistence and our success. And so you can get started today. Like, you don't have to wait till tomorrow. You don't have to wait till you can get started right away. And that's what I love, is it puts you back in the driver's seat.
Yeah. So what I want to do, told me patience is a liability.
Oh, that's a good statement. What was that again, Chris? I should say patience is a liability.
That's what Ron told me, bro.
Oh man, that's good. That's good. Mm-hmm. That's real good. Yeah. And I think he's 100% right. And if those of you who don't know Ron LeGrand, that man's made a few dollars in real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that statement. And I agree with it full-heartedly. And so one of the things Chris and I love to do is give access to people who think they don't have access to real estate. And you do have access, because when you put these kinds of tools in your toolbox, maybe you don't have the tool of a bunch of capital in the bank. Okay, that's one tool, is to take your capital in the bank, invest in real estate. That's one tool. Maybe that tool isn't in your box and you don't have that tool yet. No worries. Fine. Let's put some other tools in there, because there's a lot more tools that you can crush on this. I promise you. And so what I'm going to do now is now that you all you rock stars know why we love seller financing so much, and why it's such a powerful way to go. I'm going to walk you through a deal that I did in the last 12 months during the pandemic, and I'll walk you through how I found it and how I negotiated the whole deal. It's a 23 unit portfolio in South Bend, Indiana, and it was 13 houses, 5 duplexes. It was a 23 units, 13 houses, 5 duplexes in South Bend, Indiana. And I used to live there. I moved there for a little while, and I connected with this guy, and his dad owned a bunch of property. So this is teaching point number one. his dad owned a bunch of property, and his dad wanted to sell them to his son. His son's like, I don't really want to own rental property. And so him and I just started building a relationship. He went to my church, and we just were just shooting the crap one day, having a cup of coffee, just building a relationship. And he's like, you want to have a conversation with my dad? He might sell them to you. And I'm like, heck yeah, I'll have a conversation with him. Drove over, had a conversation with him. Now they're mine. And I'm going to walk you through the negotiation of how this all played out. The sale price was $850,000, so it's a bigger deal. But by the way, I did my first seller financing deal was $45,000. So little teeny 3-unit in Michigan, depressed property for $45,000, and I fixed that up. And I might even come back on at some point and share that deal with you. But my point is, this is just a little bit bigger deal. But don't think that seller financing. No. Seller financing is for any size deal. $45,000 to $5 million. I have a mentor that did a $13 million deal on seller financing, all the way down to $45,000. Wow. So it's not a strategy that only fits certain pieces. It fits every single asset of real estate. I don't care if you're buying single family, mobile home parks, Airbnb, multifamily, storage units, industrial. Seller financing applies to all of them because it's a way to get it financed. It's not the type of property. It applies to everything. That's why I love the tool. So awesome. So it's sale price $850,000. Now this is just one. We did it on a 10-year loan. So I was going to pay him off over 10 years on the property, but it was amortized at 20 years. Now, some of you may have never heard those terms. All that means is I was making the payments as though I was going to pay it off in 20 years, but it had what was called a 10-year balloon. And that just means whatever wasn't paid off at 10 years, I had to pay him off at that point. That makes sense, right? Chris, anything to add to that? I know you
frame that up though, because I think people, when you say pay it off, they think that you may have to actually come up with the money at that time, just exactly. So give them a framework of that.
Yeah. So when you pay it off in 10, you make your payments for 10 years, then all of a sudden you're at year 10 and you've had that property. And then let's say I've only paid, just to keep numbers easy, I've paid half of it off. So I still owe $425,000. You're like, I can't come up with $425,000. Here's the power. At that point, you can go to a bank and say, listen, I only owe half of what this property's worth. Let's put a mortgage on this bank, or on this bad boy, and you guys can get an interest rate, and so you can actually get a loan at that point because you have such a strong loan to value, meaning you own 50% of that property. That's really good. Most of the time, banks are loaning 80, not 50, and so you're the powerhouse there. So you don't have to come up with the money. What's that, Chris? That's
a strong asset there.
Yeah. And so it's amortized at 20 years. We did an interest rate of 6%. And when we do the workshop, I'll actually dive into this even further, and we have time to do it tonight, and talk a little bit about just some of the negotiation points of like how you get a seller to be excited about a deal, right? Monthly cash flow. We just got to 100% occupancy. Monthly cash flow, $7,122. Now I will tell you this, that's gross cash flow. You pull out all my expenses, I'm making about $4,000 to $6,000 depending on the month, depending on how many repairs I have that month. I'm making anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000 a month on this portfolio of net cash flow right to my pocket. $4,000 to $6,000 a month. Now hang on, because I'm going to show you something that's going to blow your mind. The value of the portfolio today, this is less than 12 months, is $1.25 million.
Wow.
Now it's a big spike. It's $400,000 in value. But let me show you why I tell you this. Is I got this property for zero money down. I haven't put one penny. A person handed me $850,000 worth of property, and I gave him nothing in return. Now, that's why I love seller financing, by the way. I found a guy that was 65 years old. He wanted to move. He lived in South Bend, Indiana. He wanted to move down to Missouri and where it was warmer, and he had a farm there and wanted to just raise animals, and he loved the farm. Just wanted to go and retire and ride around on horses and not do any work. He self-managed all these properties, by the way. And he wanted to go away and do no work and just kind of chill. 65 years old, is ready to retire. And he's like, I don't need the big payout. I just want that cash flow every month. And so now he's got it. He's got that cash flow for 10 years where he just can relax on his cash flow for 10 years. He's going to get this, and then he's going to get a big chunk at the end of 10 years so that he can rather reinvest that or whatever he wants to do. But the reason I tell you that it's zero down is all of this, the 13 houses, all this, I didn't have to come up with any money. And the reason Chris and I talked about this, and like, man, what do people need to learn right now on the edge of all these moratoriums being lifted? This is going to be one of the strategies that surfaces a lot. And this is why we wanted to talk about this tonight. And so with seller financing, as if we go back to those reasons of that, if we come back to our reasons that I don't have to have a lot of money down, sometimes zero money down. That little $45,000 deal I did 2014, also zero money down. Then I did one in 2016. I bought a three unit for $7,500 down. So I did have to come up with $7,500 for that project. But guess what? If I had to do that today, I'd bring in a partner that had the $7,500. They could put up the $7,500 and let's split the project. So we could partner. They bring the money, I bring the deal. We've got a match made in heaven, and we don't have to go get a loan. This is the power of seller financing. I love it so much. So when you think about a deal like this, and I just wanted to walk you through what it could look like. It doesn't matter the size of the property or even the kind of property. If you love single family homes, or you love mobile home parks, or mobile homes, or you think, man, I really want to get into the Airbnb market, or I want to get into even Section 8. A lot of people are making money just buying Section 8 properties. It doesn't matter. All of it could be applied to seller financing, right? All of it. And again, remember, get those questions crushing. Get those questions crushing, because we want to answer any questions around seller financing. And so this is what seller financing looks like. And it doesn't have to, and you don't have to have a bunch of information to understand how to do this. Chris, so I have a question. I'm going to put you on the spot right now, my friend.
Yeah.
How you've been doing this for years. What is the thing that people struggle with the most in getting their first deal?
Seller finance deal or just deal in general?
Any deal.
It's mindset. Yeah, it's just like, for me, I literally have to convince myself when I'm in between deals. I'm like, Chris, if you look at enough houses, you're going to find a house, but it's just a numbers game, man. I think they get burned out with looking. It's
100%. So I was just got off a coaching call right before I came here. I was on a coaching call with my coaching clients, and one of the guys was looking at properties, and he was wearing out thinking, there's just no good properties out there. Had to shift that mindset, right? And one of the things that I used to do, and the reason I've hung around Chris long enough, when I teed that question up, I knew that's what he'd say, because let me tell you, there's one piece of real estate that you got to purchase before you buy any real estate, and it's this puppy right between your ears, right? Mm-hmm. But here's the thing that I used to do. They're not going to do seller financing, man. Why would they do seller financing? Why won't they just sell it outright? Or they're not going to do no money down. I mean, who in the world would do that? And then I'm hearing all these guys out here doing it. I'm like, maybe I'm asking the wrong questions. You know what I mean? Maybe my mindset's asking, man, why would they do that versus how could I get them to do that?
Well, give them just, you can give them one nugget on why would someone want to do 100% financing? Why the hell would they want to leave the money into the deal as opposed to getting it?
Yeah. So whatever money they take out of the deal, you have to understand, no matter whatever you pay them in the States, they're going to have to pay, depending on how much they owe on the property, anywhere from 27 to 42% tax, depending on their brackets. So they're going to have to pay a chunk of that. So call it a third. A third of that money's gone. You give them $100,000, 33,000 is gone like that.
That's all of us, though, Mike. I mean, I think that's any investor, right? We're mentally just ready to just. Well, let me ask you. That's what I do. I don't know. What did you do?
For you mean for taxes?
Just in general, I mean, money. Yeah, when money comes in,
you put some money away for taxes. Oh, absolutely. You have to, or else you don't. And then the end of the year, it runs you over. Mm-hmm. It just runs you over. You can't do that 100%. And but yeah, why would somebody want to do seller financing with zero down? Well, a couple things. And I'm going to talk about this a lot at the workshop more in depth. But one of the things that I do in order to get them to take no money down is offer them a higher sale price. I offer them more money because I still make sure the deal works for me, but I offer them more money. I'm like, hey, you do less percent, 850. I'll tell you what, you give me zero. I didn't have to do it on this deal, but if he would have asked me for, let's say, $100,000 down, say, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 950. Just don't, I'll give you the 100,000 extra. Just don't ask me for it. Look at the value. So I earned 300, not 400. So what? My point in saying that is I got the deal done because I was willing to think through terms. So we're actually going to talk about, we call it term hurdling, how to negotiate and hurdle terms so that you can actually give a better deal to the seller by not taking your money. Yep. Right? 100% blessing. You're 100% right.
I just think a lot of us think for the other person. One, two.
Oh gosh, so
we think people need capital. Like, would say we might need it, for instance. But then I know people that are like, look, dude, I had investors and my lenders call me, listen, do not send me any more money. It's like they don't want it. They want to leave it in the deal.
I know. Oh, dude, it's so true. When I sell a deal that I have investor money in, they're like, what are you giving it back to me for? Get it in another deal fast.
Don't take it. I think it's here. Like when I was starting out, I'm like, who in the hell would not want their money? Why? What dummy would, you know? And this you matriculating and learning. You're like, okay.
Yeah. Well, and just on that side note, I mean, just as a teaching point for money, think about this. In America, we have inflation, meaning it's going to take more dollars to buy something, meaning the value of the dollar is going down. So if they have their money in the bank, they're holding on to a depreciating asset.
Yeah.
Their money's becoming worth less and less and less every day. So that's why some other educators will say cash is trash because it's decreasing. But if I put it in something that grows, AKA real estate, the money multiplies. And so here's why it's a hedge against that inflation. It multiplies. And if it inflates, that also inflates. So the property inflates and your money's going with it. So not only are you growing with appreciation and all the things, but then the inflation jacks up and you get that as well. So that's why people want their monies left in the deal. And it's the same thing with sellers. They're like, well, heck, I can charge you 6% interest on this money I'm loaning you basically. And if I take the money, I'm going to pay 33% in tax or 30%, whatever it ends up being.
Whatever.
But what I can do is I can charge you 6% per year. And if I scale that money out, a lot of times the interest I'm charging you will cover a lot of the money I have to pay in tax. So at the end of the deal, man, I don't really pay much tax on this if I do this. And so there's some term. That's why people are willing to sell seller financing. And there's a lot more motivations than just that. But that's one of the ones that people often, and I think you just said something, Chris, that I think needs underlining is that we make decisions for people. Oh man, dude, I can't tell you. And I'll be perfectly transparent. And it was a horrible thing I never should have done. When I first started raising money, I used to think, I'd look at somebody's car they drive and assume they didn't have money for real estate. That was the stupidest thing I could do early on in my career. And I realized these people driving Toyota Corollas and Camrys, they're like, I don't want to spend it on my car. I want to invest it in real estate. These men and women know what the heck they're doing. You know what I mean?
One of them, yeah.
It's me too. Yeah, I'm not a big car guy. I love cars, but I'm not like I drive a Toyota 4Runner and I love it. I freaking love the thing.
Boy.
And I mean, to me, I'm like, I could definitely get a more expensive car, but why not leave that and continue to build and build and build? This is one of the things we talk about. I was talking with a buddy of mine today, Dr. Will Moreland, and he's a leadership educator. We talk about this. If you give a big pile of cash to somebody who doesn't know how to manage it, they're just going to spend it and it's going to be gone, right?
Yeah. They lose it all.
Somebody who's selling you seller financing, they know what they have. They're thinking wealth minded. It's more wealth minded to sell seller financing than to just take a check and pay a third off to the government, unless they want to go buy an RV and travel the world, and that's fine. But there's a lot of people that don't, and this is the power of this process. So I want to continue to encourage you. This is a good tool to have.
All right, Mike, we're once again, we're 40 minutes in. Mike Fritz talking about seller financing, multi-millionaire real estate investor and friend of mine. Man knows what he's talking about. So, Mike, you got any more slides or you want to get to what you got coming up?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm going to talk a little bit about, we're going to do a workshop this Saturday.
Okay.
We're going to do a workshop this Saturday called Seller Financing Secrets Live, and you guys are all invited. And what it's going to be on Saturday, and I'll walk you through what it takes and a code you're going to need in order to get the Chris Haskins Roundup discount. So hang on just a little bit. But seller financing, really, the seller financing live event is meant to equip you so you can go away and knock it down. And so let me tell you a little bit about what we're going to cover. It's going to be this Saturday. It's going to be July 31st, this Saturday, 8 to 5. And here's what we're going to cover.
PST, y'all. PST. So that's 11 to 7. Is that right?
11. Yeah, it's 11 to 7 EST. 11 to 7 EST. 8 to 5 PST.
So PST is 8 a.m. So Mike got that. Okay.
Yep. And if you're Eastern, you're 11, 10 Central, 9 Mountain, 8 Pacific. And here's what we're going to go over in the event. First, I'm going to talk about how do you find these crazy sellers? Like, where in the world do you even look? How do you find these people? Then how to negotiate. This is where the money's made, is right in the negotiation. You're going to negotiate with sellers. What should you be talking about? What should you be willing to give on, and what shouldn't you be willing to give on? What terms you should be thinking about in that negotiation specifically, and why paying more might actually make you more money. And I'm going to talk about that specific. We call it the more to more principle. Why paying more could actually generate more cash for you. And what are the motivations? There are 4 main and 5. There's 5 motivations, 4 big ones of reasons why sellers do this. And then one of the things that we talk about is how to build that bulletproof 7-figure mindset. We're going to talk about that during this event, because that's the thing that tips all the scale, tips everything, is if you can get that bulletproof mindset. Because I can't tell you how many times I've sat across from somebody worth, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. And I ask them, what's the difference? And the only thing they say, the difference between me and somebody else is just how I think. That's it. It's how I think.
Crazy, man.
You can, one word can define the gap. It's mindset. It's how we, so it's the idea of, we don't really have a wealth gap. We have an information gap. We have to get information to people so they can apply this information. Right. And this is why Chris and I love doing this kind of stuff. So building a bulletproof mindset. So you're going to get tickets to the seller financing workshop this Saturday, July 31st. It's a ticket investment of $197, but for Roundup, you get $100 off. You're going to get it for half. And it's actually going out to my personal list this week. And I'm telling you, I'm offering it to my personal list at $197. Like, literally, you are the only people coming to the event that will get this offer. And I did this for Chris because he's such an amazing partner and awesome person in this industry. Like, my own list is getting an email, and it is going to be $100 more than you're going to be able to get it for. And you need that code Roundup. And you can snag your ticket and come hang out with me all day Saturday, and we're gonna have a blast talking about seller financing, negotiating, finding deals. I love this event. I've done this event a couple times, and I absolutely love it. So I'm so pumped to be able to do this event this Sunday. This Saturday. Sorry,
is there a coupon code? Is there on the checkout page or something they type in Roundup, Mike?
Yeah. So when you go down to the bottom of the landing page, you're going to see where you put your information in. There's going to be a code. You just put Roundup in there, hit enter, and you might not even have to hit enter, but you just click off the box, you hit Roundup, and it's going to bring it down $100.
Sweet. So that link is in the video description, y'all. But you have to use that code if you want to get the discount. We're not even going to put it in the description. This is only for my Roundup homies that are listening and watching and supporting the channel. Giving you that code right now. I love y'all, man. I really do. I want to see you guys succeed. I learned this stuff many, 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 many moons ago. And I'm like, man, passing on the message is just an honor. Just an honor to be able to do it.
It so is, man. It so is. And one of the things that I have learned from you and others is this industry is not, the thing I love about real estate is it's for everybody, man. It's anybody. It's for everybody. This is, we get information, people. You know what I mean?
If you want it to be, I just think we lock ourselves out, really.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. We want to blame a lot of things other than where the responsibility really lies sometimes. And hey, I'm guilty of this too. I point fingers. I'm guilty of this. It's probably more than most of you of pointing fingers, but it's equalizing to everybody. And the cool thing about this event, we'll talk about this. It'll be, as obviously it's a virtual event. If you didn't catch that, it's a virtual event. You'll get a link to the event around Friday. The cart closes Friday night midnight, and so you'll have to lock in your spot this week before Friday night midnight, and then you'll be able to join us Saturday morning for the event. We'll have a day of some action. It'll be fun.
Sweet. Anything else you want to share with them, Mike?
I just want to share. I can't just reiterate enough what Chris said a minute ago about that mindset piece. I think that every single person on here tonight, and Chris just dropped another one and said, hey, if you want it to be, this is available if you want it. You know, if you want to come and hang out with us, I'm gonna be there dropping what I've learned over 8 years now of doing since my first seller financing deal, and I've done many more. I'm going to walk through how to do 8, and I'm even going to walk through a strategy of how I use seller financing for big multifamily deals where I still use a bank, but I use seller financing for just the down payment part. It's called a seller second. It's a different way to use seller financing for commercial properties. I'm going to talk about that strategy as well.
You're going to give them, my thing is, Mike, a lot of us, for me, I had to wrap my mind around how to talk to the people, that negotiation, which is why I created all my negotiating stuff too. But I'm like, a lot of us, well, for me, I was like, man, I don't know. You can't just go in there. Some people don't know what it is. And then are you going to help them with that scripts and stuff, Mike? I don't know.
Absolutely. So one of the things we talk about with seller financing is you might run into a seller who has never heard of this strategy. Mm-hmm. And so you have to now become an educator before you can become a negotiator. And so we educate to negotiate, right? And so we educate them on what it is, how it works, why they should think about doing it, why. So you educate them to actually educate them so they know what it is. Because some sellers are like, I'm now the bank, so do I have debt now? How does this work? Like they don't know how it works. And I'm sure you've ran into sellers as well, Chris, that you're like, no, it doesn't work like that. Like you had to walk them through actually how it looked and how it worked.
The hardest part, like Dan Kennedy says, is keeping a straight face. You got to keep it straight for you while you're talking to people, man. You got to listen, y'all. You might have to refresh your screen because we don't put this stuff in at the beginning of the trainings. Just hit the little refresh button and the link will pop up. I'm sorry about that, y'all. But yeah, it probably will not be there unless you refresh your screen. It will be in the video description. The link is right below. Awesome. But keeping that straight face, though, Mike, I'm like, Miss Smith, I'd rather pay you the interest rather go pay in the bank. I just think it's your posture and how you deliver it.
And I'll tell you what, the whole like he who speaks first or she who speaks first loses and all that stuff. You got to throw all that garbage out. That ain't this. We're not selling people on something. We're actually showing them a way they could make more money and hold on to more of their money. We're not trying to, this isn't a sales pitch. Like, you know what I mean? And you actually, we do something, what we call heart buying. We want to buy from the heart. We want to come alongside people, listen to why they're selling, why, what's their situation, so we can figure out a creative way to get them out of it in a seller financing deal. And so we care about people so much that we want to help work them through it. So it's not a sale. So if you're like, oh, I got to negotiate, is this like a sales thing? Not at all. We're just talking to sellers and showing them how we can keep their money in their pocket.
And I think for us, a big strategy, Mike, is just stacking it so much in their favor. I'm like, look, you win on this. I'm not even coming at it from a position of, for me, obviously we want to do it, but if you stack it so much, they call it the ultimatum theory. The ultimatum theory. I won't get into it, but you stack it so much in their favor. It's like, they're looking at you like, sure you can do this?
Yeah. I mean, if I'm stacking, like, I'm going to give you a little bit more on the back end. I'll give you some good. I'm going to give you some good interest. You're going to make this much a year on interest. Plus, you're not going to pay this much in taxes. And you start showing this. It's like, wow, I'd kind of be a little bit of a fool not to do
it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And so, absolutely. And so this is why this strategy, I think, is it's my favorite tool. It is my favorite tool to have in the toolbox, because it doesn't matter what I'm buying. I always ask, because who knows? You get into a seller who wants to sell, maybe they self-manage and they're like, I am done collecting rent. I want out of this thing. Well, my goodness, we use property managers. We don't collect rent. And so we can help them out of that, right? Even multifamily, we do this. And so
Sweet.
this is why we always pull out this tool.
All right, round up. Go to the video description below. Mike is doing his seller financing secrets. It will be this Saturday, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Pacific.
You got it.
Pacific.
It will be
time.
specifically Pacific.
I can't stand it. Is that specific? Eastern Standard Time is 11 a.m., y'all. So,
You
Mike,
got it.
we're
Love
going to
it.
be training you on this stuff, seller financing, scripts, how to talk to sellers. And I talked to him earlier today. If this not only works for if you're buying, but Mike was telling me that you can, because for me, I'm going to be a seller one day. I know eventually I'm going to be like owner financing my whole joint. I'm like, I don't want to do nothing but collect a check.
Exactly.
That's where I'm going to be later in life. So
Totally. Yeah, we've talked about that because we'll have a lot of like this 23 unit portfolio. We will probably sell it and do the exact same thing on a seller financing deal to somebody else.
Yeah.
I'll do the same exact thing.
Sweet.
You know, I might at that point, because I'll have the property better, I might require a down payment, but only to keep them in the deal. But I'll probably sell this whole portfolio off seller financing.
Sweet.
Yeah, man.
So get signed up. Use the coupon code ROUNDUP for my homies. And that will be this Saturday, July 31st, guys. So if you're interested in learning seller financing, Mike is the man to do it. Raise, I don't know how many millions of dollars. Thank you, Mike. You got some Q&A now, or what you want to do?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Any Q&A. Oh, Larry asked.
I could bring it up.
Yeah, bring up Larry's question on the replay question, because a lot of people might say, you know what, hey, I got my kid's soccer game this Saturday. What do I do? Will the replay option be open? As soon as you enroll in the event, you'll have the option if you want to snag the recording. So the recordings for us to put all together and give it to you, it's a little extra investment. You'll get that right after you register. You'll get an offer and an invitation to say, hey, if you want all the recordings for life, here they are. If not, just come to the event, hang out with us, have a blast. And so there is an option to snag the recordings right after you register for the event. Just snag the recording option and you're good. You actually get when you get the recordings, you also get a couple other goodies that I'm gonna throw in there for you and love on you. And so, but if you want those, just snag the extra recording, and you know, it's a couple meals out, and you'll have the recordings for life.
The link is in the video description. Good one. What up, Roundup? Check my email, Patricia. I will. If you guys, if any of my Roundup homies send me an email and we don't reply in like 2 days, just send another one. You know, don't be bashful. Send another email. You know, we're busy just like you guys. Don't be hesitant to send another email. Emails Chris@chrishaskins.com. Chris@chrishaskins.com. Corey there, Atlanta. A CHI group, shot group. How do you convince the sellers to do seller financing with no money down?
Yeah, so convincing them to do it with no money down is showing them the tax they're going to have to pay on that down payment. And it also comes into sweetening up the deal. Like, so a lot of times the reason people want a down payment, it's not so that they can make money today. A lot of times people want a down payment to make sure that you don't run the properties into the ground and walk. That's a lot of times what they want. The biggest thing I hear when I do that deal is like, okay, what if you just soak rent out of these properties, don't fix them up, and then you hand me back over just a dilapidated property or a portfolio? So they want you to have some skin in the game, right? And so one of the things that I say is, hey, instead of me giving you a down payment, what if I, in the first 3 to 6 months, invest this much of the portfolio back into the property and fix it up so they know I've got some skin in the game? And so that's how I did it on this one. I'm like, hey, I'm going to invest this much over the first year to get these fixed up. So you know I've got some skin in the game. So I put all those rents back in. This portfolio, be perfectly transparent, I didn't make money for the first year. But now it creates a $60,000 salary, and I didn't pay any money for it.
Wow.
And so, you know what I mean? And so, I mean, every single one on this channel, I guarantee an extra $5,000 a month change everything. Just changes everything, right?
That's pretty gangster, man, doing that. So you're taking the money and doing the repairs as opposed to giving it to them. Yeah,
exactly. And this is what I tell them, because a lot of them are like, yeah, but then you have no skin in the game. Well, what if I could, instead of giving it to you, put it towards the property so I have skin in the game, and by me beautifying the properties, now the properties are worth more money. So now I've increased the value of the property. Instead of give the down payment, I've actually put that into the property itself. And so that's one of the ways I do that.
That's sweet, man. That's sweet, man. Y'all give him a thumbs up for that one. How in the world did you come up with that, Mike? I'm like, most people be stumped by it. You're right. Why wouldn't you let me do a down payment? I mean, they'd be,
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It's like, I don't want to do a down payment. So here's the thing. You always have to be thinking, and I learned this in marketing from a Dan Kennedy. Chris just mentioned Dan a bit ago. He's just a marketing genius. And he used to say, you always have to make every decision from the mind of the person you're trying to influence. So if somebody is not going to take a down payment, I have to get into their mind and think, okay, what would make them say, yeah, I don't need a down payment? What would be a win in their mind? Well, if they knew, wow, the properties were getting beautified, they're becoming worth more money. So even if he does default, I'm going to get a portfolio back that's worth more money. What kind of risk is that? Right?
Zero.
And exactly. And so, and he's going to give me an extra 50 grand on the sale of the property, or whatever the price is or whatever. And you got to make sure the deal still works, but he's going to give me some extra money to not do a down payment. I'm starting to see this guy or this girl's not just thinking about themselves. It's really big when sellers know that. When they know you're coming from the heart and say, listen, I want to win. This is old school Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, right? Win. The seller has to win. Mike has to win. You have to win. The seller has to win. As soon as the seller wins, man, you got a seller financing deal right on the doorstep.
Round up. The links in the video description. Get signed up. Use the coupon code ROUNDUP for a 50% discount. Blessing. Congratulations, Michael. See you Saturday.
Absolutely.
Blessing.
Can't wait to have you there. Secured my pocket. All right. Awesome, Blessing. Can't wait to have you there. Can't wait to have you.
Yeah. Mike. Josh. Hey, Josh. Do you do get the deed after the final payment, right?
Yes.
How did you keep the seller from pulling money out of the property?
Yeah. It's a good question. So how do you keep, so contract, first of all, so if they pull debt on the property, they have to, now you have a contract to that property, or a land contract, a contract where you are part owner. So if they ever pulled out of that and you are either on that title or listed as a portion to that title, they're not able to pull money out of it without you signing off on it if you're one of the owners.
Yeah, Josh, that's a good question. Even if Mike didn't get the deed, no doubt he would record something. I mean, you would record a memorandum or 100%, contract or option or something.
Yeah. And so we have I always have an attorney draw up, and it usually costs anywhere from $750 to $1,500 to draw up a contract for one of these deals. And I always draw that contract up. But here's the thing, Josh. I've never had a seller do that ever. And I've never even heard of anybody. And I know a lot of people in real estate, never even heard of anybody trying to do that, because I think that with somebody going that, they would have to do a lot of maneuvering to even pull something like that off. So I think it's too dangerous for somebody to do something like that. Now, on a practical level, you have that contract in place to keep you void of that debt coming to your name specifically.
Yeah, well, not only your name, it gets a property, really. I mean, exactly. When they do the search, Josh, they're going to see your equitable interest in the property. So 100%. You're not worried about that. But we do have attorneys. I'm like, just pay the people, let them draft it up. That way you know it's recorded. Like, look, I paid the guy, man. So
here you go. I'm all good. I'm all set up. No, yeah, you got it. You got to have somebody who's doing that on your behalf, keeping you safe.
I don't see any other questions, Mike. Well, that's cool, man. So we got 55 people on here. This will be awesome training for you to open up this opportunity to the people. People think that they need money to buy houses. How many times have I heard it? Please take yourself out of that mindset. If you do have the time and the money to join Mike, it's only going to cost you 2 tanks of gas to get in with him. I mean, the man has taught me a lot. I talk to Mike all the time about just different things, philosophy, real estate, money, financing, management, tenants, all that stuff. So not only are you getting Mike's experience, but I'm telling you, the dudes that Mike know, I like plugging into people like him because he plugs me in, and it's vice versa.
Oh, totally.
He plugs me in. I'm like, damn, I never thought about that. He has a guy that does this. I'm like, Mike, what would you think about this? Boom, boom. So you get to run things off of a multimillionaire real estate investor. So this is an opportunity. You know, most people that I coach and train, they're working 9 to 5, and the people around them aren't necessarily multimillionaire real estate investors. So you get an opportunity to hang out with one for a whole day. So
I would love to hang out with you. And I have one of my lead coaches on our team at the event in the chat full time. So their whole job is to answer your questions during the event. I have somebody dedicated to you to make sure you never have a question. And a lot of times those questions are going to be brought up to me live, and you're going to get your answers live. So that's why I would love to have you come hang out with us for a day, and we'll have some fun for sure.
Thanks, Mike. Roundup, that link is in the video description. Use the coupon code Roundup. I'm not even going to put that. This is just for people that have watched. I'm not even going to put the discount code in the description. This is just for you because you hung out with us, letting you know that, once again, I love you. I want you to succeed, okay? Any final closing thoughts, Mike?
I appreciate you all again. It's Tuesday night. You guys came and spent it here. I just want to thank you for taking your time, hanging out with Chris and I. I truly appreciate what you're doing here to help people, man. When you're raising finance, I mean, your whole statement of financial literacy, it's just phenomenal. And that's why we do this. So love to have you come hang out with us, and thank you all for giving your time. But let's change that mindset. Love to see you all Saturday for sure.
All right, cool. All right, my real estate roundup homies, subscribe to the channel, get registered up. You won't see me promote this anymore. This is it. This is because you took the time out of your night. You're not watching. I don't even know what comes on anymore. Steve Harvey, whatever. You're not watching it. You're watching something that's going to raise your money, get your money right. You know, because for me, I had no other choice. I had no choice. I need to figure out how the hell I'm going to get some education so I can get up out of this slump that I'm in. So,
oh, dude, so true. Could not have. I mean, it wasn't that long ago when I didn't have I had $2,000 in the bank and I was renting. You know, I just didn't have any money. And so this is not something that you have to wait. You can do it today.
You know, it's weird, Mike. You know, I think people meet me, you know, I'm like, I'm so thankful, I'm blessed. I'm like, dude, you know, 90% of my life I was broke, you know, so it's like I know where people are, dude. So I've been there. Yeah,
that's just it. I mean, it was 2016. I 2017. No, 4 years ago, I had $2,000 to my name 4 years ago. So when you think that you guys, you know, this ain't like just we've been at this for a long time. It's one of those things. You're an overnight success after 10 years, right? So we've been priming the pump, baby.
All right, like the content, hit that like button, and share with any other investors you think need to understand creative financing and seller financing. I'll see you guys on the next video roundup. Peace.
Have a good night.